I want to encourage you, especially if you want to work on systematic change. We've got a lot of work to do in our criminal justice system, and our Bar Association is doing some of that work with a lot of good volunteers. If we want to work on systematic racism, if we want to work on climate change, energy policy, these are all things that in a governmental role, whether elected or administrative, you can move mountains. So please consider it. Please continue on the pathway of pursuing a legal career, and I will help you in any way I can. So thank you for giving me a few moments to welcome you, and I look forward to hearing more about all of your experiences.
Absolutely. Thank you for those remarks. Now I'd like to acknowledge that we also have Awata Fasad on the call. She is the VP of Inclusion and Diversity for the Bar Foundation. We are happy to have you here. Awata, if you wanted to say a couple words.
Greetings, everyone. Again, I'm Awata Fasad. I'm the VP of Inclusion and Diversity for the CMBA. I am currently the risk manager for Cuyahoga County. I have 25 years of experience as a government litigation attorney. And just like Rose mentioned, I do encourage the public sector, or if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. To the 2021 graduates of the CMBA's Louis Stokes Scholars Program, congratulations. I am excited to be here with all of you today to celebrate your accomplishments. Your hard work and scholarship have brought you here today. Your participation in the Stokes Scholars Program has given you a closer look at the inner workings of the legal profession. Some of you will take what you've learned from this program and the relationships you have formed and continue to careers outside the legal profession. Others will choose to delve deeper into the legal profession, pursue law school, and admission to the state bar. But whatever career path you take, form good habits and practices from the outset. Strive always to perform at the highest level and in an ethical manner. Be innovative and take risks. Do step outside your comfort zone. The rewards will be great. And use your skills to build a more equitable, inclusive, and diverse community, one that provides equal opportunity for everyone. I also advise all of you to seek out good role models and sponsors who will help guide you as you begin your legal careers. Seek out professionals who are respected and known for their expertise and leadership. For those of you who decide to continue on in the legal profession, your position as a leader and as an instrument of change for yourself, the legal profession, and for the community awaits you. We welcome and look forward to those of you who will join the ranks of the legal profession. We are inspired by all of you, future leaders of tomorrow. Remember to lead through empathy, lead through conscious inclusion, and lead through action. I read the following quote this morning and that I want to share with all of you. Leadership is about making others better as a result of our presence and making sure that impact lasts in our absence. We are confident that you will make a big impact in your communities. Take pride in your achievements. Your future success is only a matter of continuing the journey that you have already begun. So we wish you the very best. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much for those words. And I also wanted to again thank the Bar Foundation and the Bar Association, the Diversity and Inclusion Branch, and the organization as a whole has been such an ally, obviously, to the program. And I'd also like to acknowledge one of the founders of the program, who is here on the call with us, He is the immediate past president of the Bar Foundation. He's Carter Strang. Carter, could you say a few words, please?
Glad to, thank you. First of all, congratulations to this year's class of Stokes Scholars. Great job. And thank you to all of you that helped make it possible, and that would be the mentors, certainly the Stokes Scholars Committee members, and Mary Groth and everybody else with the CMBA staff that really made this year possible. Wearing my hat as immediate past president of the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Foundation, the Bar Foundation is the fundraising arm for so many of the award-winning, let me emphasize that, CMBA, pipeline, and community programs. And you're familiar with them. Certainly Stokes Scholars is what we're celebrating today, but they include 3 hours of mock trial. I know many of you participated in that. So on behalf of the foundation, thank you and congratulations. On a personal note, as Brandon mentioned, we started Stokes Scholars. He was in the original class. A number of you I see were in that original group as mentors for Stokes Scholars, and how time flies from 2012. We started Stokes Scholars with really 3 goals in mind. One was to increase diversity in the legal profession, something badly needed. To decrease the brain drain from Cleveland, a real problem. And third, to honor the rich legacy of Louis Stokes, who was not only a great leader, but a great lawyer. Argued Terry versus Ohio and a number of other cases in the US Supreme Court. And looking back now from 2012, because of everybody's hard work, including Brandon now, who's chairing the committee, we've accomplished so many of those goals. And in doing so, we're creating the next generation of Cleveland leaders. And that's just so heartwarming to see. Just a few of the statistics so far. We have 5 practicing attorneys that are Stokes Scholars graduates. And how many of them do you think are practicing in Cleveland? 100%. We have 3 waiting for, they just took the bar, they're waiting for the results. And we have 1 that's graduated in May, when we'll be taking the bar in February. So many more in the pipeline, and we have an awful lot that are taking the LSAT and looking to enter law school. So that's great, because that's a major goal, increasing diversity in the legal profession. But even for those Stokes Scholars that don't become lawyers, we know that you benefit from this program because of the interaction with the other Stokes Scholars and the mentoring that you receive. So don't hesitate to reach out to those mentors, your peer mentors and other mentors like Paul Smith. And again, congratulations, Paul, on receiving the CMBA award for community service. Well deserved. So those are my remarks. Again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Carter. I wanted to take this time now to thank the Louis Stokes Scholars Committee. The committee is comprised of volunteers throughout the legal community who take the time to really help this program grow and help this program succeed every summer. We have been a strong group, but I think we have been no stronger than we've been these last 2 years, particularly given the challenges of COVID-19. Going into this summer, I was extremely excited at the prospect of being able to get back to normal, as I think most people were for this summer. I was excited to have scholars back in placements and work sites. And so I was extremely excited to be able to have that happen. Now, obviously, the summer didn't quite go as anybody has planned, and things have been kind of up and down, and we haven't necessarily been able to get all the way back to whatever our new normal may be, or whatever the normal is now. But the Stokes Scholars Committee was really able to buckle down and get a really great program off the ground, and obviously include some really great scholars, right? And they're the center of our show. But I also wanted to take this time to acknowledge the namesake of the program, which is Louis Stokes. I had a chance to meet with Congressman Stokes in the first few summers that I worked as a Louis Stokes Scholar. And it was always such a tremendous honor to have my name associated with such a giant in both the legal field, the Black community, the city of Cleveland, the country as a whole. And he was always so down to earth, warm, welcoming. He really considered the Stokes Scholars his children as well. He really enjoyed the program. And that being said, I'm also so honored today to have two of his grandchildren here, Brett Hammond and Alex Stokes. So I wanted to acknowledge both of you and ask if either of you have any remarks. And obviously you guys are carving your own paths now, right? You are great in your own rights. So I wanted to acknowledge both of you and see if you guys had any, anything you wanted to say, any remarks. And Brett, we'll start with you.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having us. I know the Louis Stokes Scholars Program was very near and dear to my grandfather's heart. I wanted to acknowledge everyone who's made this program possible, from the government attorneys to the judges to the attorneys with law firms to the nonprofit legal sector. I know it's truly a team, a collective team that's helped to support the program and the students in it. And so I'm just honored and thrilled to be here today to recognize the good work that you've done. I'm one of Louis Stokes's grandsons. I'm here with Alex Stokes, who's one of his granddaughters. And it's been a thrill to see the Stokes Scholars go on to be at the point like where Brandon's at, where you are now running the program. And I can guarantee my granddad would be absolutely thrilled to know that some of the former Stokes Scholars are essentially providing the leadership for this program. So know that he would be absolutely thrilled to know that. To the Stokes Scholars, I would just say that what Brandon said about my granddad seeing you as his children is absolutely true. In fact, that's often how he referred to the Stokes Scholars. He would say, "Hey, how are my children doing?" And so I just want you to be aware that he looked at you with endearment, with pride. And so I just want you to take that with you after the graduation today. I'm just going to give a couple of brief remarks today. And when I speak at events like this, I like to try to share what I think my grandfather might have liked to share were he here. And so I'm just going to give 3 pieces of advice that would often show up, that he'd often give in remarks that he'd give to young men and women that he presented to. The pieces of advice are as follows. First, aim high. Second, commit to excellence in everything you do. And the third piece of advice, which will require some explanation, is be better than me. And I'd like to start with aim high. When my granddad was right around your guys' ages, he wasn't thinking about all the things that you've heard that he accomplished. Just to read a short excerpt from one of his books. A teacher asked him whether or not he was going to college, and his response was, "Miss Thomas," I said, "I'm not going to college. My mother has no way of sending me." Now, obviously that changed. He went on to college and law school and went on to do some great work. But I just want to point out that many of you are already successful. You've already achieved some great things. So just take a minute to reflect on how much you've already done. And really what changed my granddad's outlook was at some point he started to be around young men and women who were college graduates, and he realized he was every bit as capable of them. And so I just hope for the Stokes Scholars today, you had a similar experience this summer, that being around successful attorneys from firms, the judges, the government attorneys, that you saw some people that you admired and you realized, yeah, I admire them, but perhaps I can go ahead and do that too, because that's the point he was at when he was a young man. And it took an experience like that to help motivate him and drive him forward. I'd also encourage you to continue committing to excellence. Just to give a short story about my granddad, and I've shared this story with Alex before. And part of the reason I like this story is I did not learn about it from a book. I didn't learn about it from my granddad. I learned about it from a friend who worked as a nurse after my granddad had passed. And the story is that my friend who was working in a hospital spoke with a person who was a Cleveland resident. And she said, you know, Lou Stokes helped me so much. And so my friend said, well, how so? And she said, my son was fighting in Vietnam and I'd lost contact with him and I couldn't find him. So I wrote Congressman Stokes and he responded and he helped me find my son. And that's what she remembered of my grandfather. And so what I love about that story is I just think it's such a great example of excellence. That's not just about your big opportunities. It's not just about the great moments. It's about being excellent even when you think no one's looking. And that's something that where if you met my granddad, you would know that is him through and through. And I feel like that story just really kind of encapsulates how he went about everything. And I'm sure that's the reason he didn't share that story is that's how he did everything, essentially. He did his very best. The last piece of advice I'd share is the piece of advice, be better than me. And he would say that at almost every single speech he gave to young men and women. They'd talk about his accomplishments, and then he'd issue the challenge to the students. I encourage you to be even better than me. And at a basic level, it was a challenge to step up and do great things in your own lives. But I think there's a deeper meaning of that statement. And that deeper meaning is when you reflect on the sort of person who would make a statement like that. The sort of person who would make a statement like that is someone who cares about public service and helping others. You encourage others to be better because you always know there are constant needs and service that's so necessary for supporting the community that we live in today. And so I'm sure he would encourage each and every one of you to step up, to be your best, because there are others that are counting and depending on you to, in fact, be your very best. And my granddad, there's no doubt that he'd be the first one to encourage you to do that. I know he certainly did it for me, and I know he did it for pretty much every young person I ever saw him come into contact with. In closing, I'd like to share some remarks that my grandfather made himself in one of his very last speeches. And what's special about these remarks is he gave these remarks in response to a question given by a former Louis Stokes scholar by the name of Anthony Price. This was before Anthony Price was a scholar. This speech took place at the City Club of Cleveland, Ohio. And essentially, Anthony asked my granddad, what can us young people do to follow in your legacy? And to provide some more context, my granddad started talking about what it took to pass the bill that made Martin Luther King Day a holiday. And it turned out it was quite a fight. And so I'll just end with these remarks that are from my granddad himself. He said, why did it take 17 years to enact a piece of legislation honoring one of the greatest men who had ever lived? Basically, because we had to overcome racist attitudes and things in Congress. And believe me, January of 1969 through 1986, when we passed the bill, it was work. We continued working week after week, day after day, month after month, because we knew that this country needed to give that man the type of recognition for posterity. And so we did what you have to do in that kind of body. You have to be patient. You have to know where you're going, and then be willing to spend the kind of time it takes to accomplish something that you know should be done. I tell my young students in social work that the type of work they're doing is so important, that they're advocates. They're trying to take care of poor people, people on welfare, people who have no voice and depend on someone else to help them be guided through their lives. And I explain to them that it doesn't happen overnight. We lost many a battle legislatively in Congress. Sometimes you'd look up on the scoreboard in a fight and realize that you lost by one vote. That shows you just how important one vote is. But we knew and understood the process was slow but sure. So as young people, I say to you that we need you. We're going to need your leadership. Young people who are like you are the future of this country. You'll be the ones sitting on this stage and speaking from this podium. And that's why it's so important that you get the kind of education that will enable you in America to continue the kind of fight and struggle that so many of us have been in for 50 or more years. And so I leave and close you with Congressman Lou Stokes' words. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you for those tremendous words, both from you and from Congressman Stokes. So Alex, I'd like to turn it over to you if you have anything for our scholars as well.
Well, Brandon, thank you for giving me a moment to make some short remarks. It'll be much shorter. My cousin, really said it all, and I'm so glad he was able to share some of those words from our grandfather with you scholars, as I know he would have loved to give you those words of encouragement himself. It's amazing to think and then to hear that all of the practicing attorneys who graduated from the program have stayed in Cleveland. And so to Brett's point of, he mentioned service and community. And to me, that is something that was so important to my grandfather. He was not trying to be a politician first at all. He loved the law, and that was his first love and his last, and returned to it, of course, after he retired from Congress. And so, but I think he always saw, even as a public servant in that political field, he was still a servant in the law. And so always remember there are so many ways to serve your community, and to always keep that as the focus, because as Brett said, you all are the future. You set the tone for what your generation will live through, but also future generations. And always keep that in mind, that every action will have such a large impact, even if you don't think it does at the time. So to always lead with service. And one other thing my grandfather always said was, be kind. Just remember to always be kind and stay humble, and use that as your compass and your place of starting. I'm so proud of Brett. He obviously can speak a lot better to this, because this is his field. He's the only one who decided to follow in our grandfather's steps in his career. And so very proud of you for what you've done, and the young future lawyers you've been able to inspire too. I just wanted to give you some love for that. So thank you all. This program is amazing. It's amazing to see what you all are continuing to do with it. I appreciate the invitation, and to the scholars, you all are going to set such an amazing precedent for the future and for future generations. And just remember to keep your head held high, and like Brett said, aim high, because that was always very important to my grandfather, and we hope to continue that legacy. But you all are the ones continuing his legacy. So thank you for that. And congratulations.
Brandon, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. I was muted. But I was saying, thank you so much for those words. And again, I can't overstate how much we appreciate being able to continue the legacy of Louis Stokes. I'd like to now, turn to giving all of you an overview of what we did this summer. Like I said, it was more of a return to form. I felt like it was us kind of trying to get back to normal as best that we could. So we were able to, first and foremost, get our scholars back at the internship sites. So I'll turn it over to Mary now, and she'll give us an overview of what the program was like this year.
Thanks, Brandon. And I'll be real quick, because we really want to focus on our scholars. But we were so excited this year to be back in the internship land. Last year, because of COVID, we weren't able to have placements. This year we did. So we had Tucker Ellis. Tucker's been in it since the beginning, all 10 years they've taken scholars. Zashin and Rich, we were excited to bring in for their first year in the program. And we had a great experience there this summer with Zashin, and I believe that they will continue. We're very excited to welcome them to our internship site hosts group. We were at the 8th District Court of Appeals for only the second time in the program. And thank you, Judge Michelle Sheehan and the judges there for taking a scholar this summer who had a terrific experience. We had 2 scholars placed at the Court of Common Pleas and 2 placed at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. So 7 scholars in all participated and had terrific summers. And the internship hosts and the mentors at those employment places are such a huge part of the program. They really provide that guidance, the introductions, the opportunities for our students to really dig in and understand what goes on, at their place of employment and get a better sense of what it's like to practice in different areas. So thank you, internship sites. And then mentors and supporters. We talked a lot about sponsors and mentors, supporters. There's so many different ways to support. And this group really are the ones that provided the hands-on, rolled up their sleeves and got involved personally in the program this summer. I can't say thank you enough. They were writing mentors, they were site host mentors, they were field guides, they were speakers at programs, and everybody on this list has contributed so much to this summer's program. Many of these folks have been involved since the very beginning. Judge Oliver, I'm going to give you a shout out, has always taken our scholars. They come over to the court and really learn from him and got to meet folks there. So we love that we're back in the Court of Appeals. But without this group, this is the village that sort of makes it happen. We also obviously have to thank our Bar Association and the Foundation for funding for the program this summer.
And now it's on me. Hey, everybody, my name is Donnell Collins. I just want to formally introduce myself. I know you all probably have met me throughout our emails. So now you have me here in the flesh. And I'm just going to briefly go over, very briefly touch on some of our highlights. Because again, we want to make sure we're celebrating our scholars and we're uplifting our scholars. So I'm not going to say what we did to get here, but we are here. And here's some of our highlights. We visited the Court of Common Pleas on June 30th. That was one of our first group experiences. Before this, we did have an orientation, but we didn't take that many pictures there. And this was one of our first times getting together as a whole at the Court of Common Pleas. Also going back to the Court of Common Pleas, this is also where we met Mr. Russell Ty and Miss Aquila Jordan. So thank you. It was a great time meeting you all. We appreciate it. I'm also want to touch on our Let's Learn with the Affinity Bar at the CMBA here. It was a great time. That was when we met Mr. Delante, who came on behalf of the Norman S. Minor Bar Association. We also met Pat, who came on the Ohio Hispanic Association, and then we met Chris, and of course Brandon was there. He's serving dual roles, but he was there representing Stokes Scholars. So I want to thank everybody for that, because that was a great time. The scholars really learned a lot. We heard some stories from our guests that day. They shared lunch with us and really just talked with us and gave us like a lot of just great advice and kind words and things that are going to help us on this journey through law school. Our annual meeting was on July 13th. And at our annual meeting, backtrack a little bit. So throughout the summer, we also had our scholars at these internships. They had to do a couple of projects for us here at the CMBA. And one of those projects were they had to develop elevator speeches for our annual meeting at the CMBA, for our CMBA's annual meeting at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, where we literally threw them to the wolves. So some of them were practicing their elevator speeches, as you see Miss Giana picture there. And it was a great time. They loved seeing all of the Asian Lantern Festival. They loved meeting. Well, that was some of us met Paul that day. Now other of us met Paul. You will see a little later. But it was a great time. Again, we had a lot of fun, and the scholars met lawyers and realized that lawyers are people too. That was a key takeaway from that annual meeting. And then we visited Judge Solomon Oliver at the federal courthouse, the Carl Stokes Federal Courthouse, and our scholars got to actually sit in on the case. Very interesting case. Mr. Solomon Oliver did a great job of walking through the case with us. I feel like I can now maybe get like a C in the class on mandatory minimums, because he did a great job of walking us through that. I remember that was one of me and one of my biggest takeaways in the scholarship as well. He also had lunch with us and told us about some of his childhood and things that got him interested in law, talked about some of his mentors. And then we also got to take some pictures in the courthouse, and it was a very beautiful space. Then we visited Case Western University School of Law, and that was a few weeks ago, where we were set up to have a tour, but because of COVID, we all are used to it now. We actually had a virtual tour, because as now most things are virtual, so we had a virtual tour there. They walked us through first the admission process virtually, then they walked us through their law school virtually, and then they walked us through the steps in actually signing up for that LSAT. We learned a lot about budgeting and money and finance, and the scholars really got scared straight. That's why in the first picture you can't see their faces, and in the second picture they were smiling, because it took us a while. That was a crash course, and I actually cried a little bit in that meeting as well. And then lastly, but certainly not least, a few days ago when we were practicing for our graduation, we had a lunch and learn at Calfee, hosted by, again, the star of the show really, Brandon Brown. He came in, we had lunch at Calfee. Him and Paul Smith, as you can see the back of his head in one of these pictures. Sorry, Paul, but he did a great job of really just giving us a lot of input, a lot of mentorship, and helping us master these presentations that you all are about to see. A lot of hard work went into this. The scholars really put their best foot forward, and I'm excited for you all to see.
Thank you, Donnell. I appreciate that. So now we're going to move into the main event, the real stars of the show, because it's not me. I appreciate it though, Donnell. But we're going to move into the real stars, which are the scholars, right, who we're all here to honor. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves as they present one at a time. And we're going to start with Casey Smith.
Donnell, are you just gonna let me know when?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting on you to talk. I'm sorry.
Because I just don't see the presentation.
Yeah, you can pull up the presentation, Donna.
But hello, everyone. My name is Casey. My internship site was at Zashin Rich, and my presentation is just going to talk to you guys about what I did there, what they do, and what I've learned through the 2021 Louis Stokes Scholars Program. You can go to the next one. So a little bit about me, like I said, my name is Casey Smith. I graduated from Orange High School, and I am now a rising junior at Muskingum University studying political science and public administration. I was actually allowed to apply to this program because in high school, I participated in the Stephanie Tubb Jones Summer Legal Academy, where I was placed at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. Right now at my university, I am the treasurer of our Student Senate, which is the student government program. I'm the philanthropy chair of our Black Student Union, and I am the vice president of a newly created program that looks at supporting women of color on our campus. And I'm also a member of the women's basketball team. So more about the site. Zashin Rich was established in 1981, and it focuses on workplace and family law. More about the people behind the name of the firm. Andrew Zashin practices domestic relations law, which looks at familial relations and the legal proceedings that come with some of those issues. Stephen Zashin looks at employment and labor law. And that typically looks at the employer-employee relationships as well as unionized and non-unionized workers. Jonathan Rich also focused on domestic relations, which we discussed. And then Lawrence Rich, who I believe is retired, practices domestic relations, business, and real estate law. And one thing I really learned through the firm and the program is that a lot of law is intersected, and one issue you may find in another area of law can be found in another. So we discussed family law, but one thing I found really incredible was the idea of them looking at international family law, which focuses on legal issues specific to different faiths. We are a melting pot of a country, and I think it's incredibly important to represent people who have those different beliefs. So Orthodox Judaism and all those examples, they are able to represent those laws as well. One thing I really learned at the firm was how they focused on alternative dispute resolution, which is where they use mediation and arbitration instead of litigation. And those are some examples. But what I got to get involved in was arbitration, where there's a neutral party that takes all the information and tries to come up with a compromise for both and basically leads them in a way. And I actually got to come up with some cross-examination questions, which I was really nervous about because I've obviously haven't had too much experience in that realm, but I was really excited to find out that I actually had some of the same questions and ideas that they were going to use. So that was a really incredible experience. Employment law really looks at the employee-employer relationship, while labor law looks at the unionized and non-unionized workers. Zashin Rich represents small and large businesses, as well as private and public sector employees. Business law, they did handle a lot of commercial matters. And like I said, they represent the employers as well as employees. Sports law, I was really excited about that one. A lot of Zashin Rich's attorneys are actually collegiate athletes, so they recognize the legal issues some athletes may face. This really emphasized the intersection of law for me, because obviously athletes have family, they have contracts they need to find, and ultimately that is their job. So labor law is going to be explored in that realm. So like I said, they do serve major professional sports franchises like the Browns, which was really exciting. So as you can see, the firm doesn't look like your average firm. It was an incredible experience to be in that kind of environment. I would describe the culture though as progressive, innovative, and collaborative. And that's because it was a really inviting place. They actually have no doors to their offices. So I think that really invited me to ask a lot of questions and to just, have that open door policy. And if you're interested in keeping up with employment law or domestic relations law, we have a newsletter sign up at Zashin Rich. I just wanted to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, and I really enjoyed my time this summer with the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Casey. I really appreciate it, and it's been an honor to have you with us as well. You've been such a delight, and I know you've gotten to work with another former Stokes Scholar pretty closely in Janae Jackson. So I'm glad that you had a positive experience. So let's move on to our next scholar. Our next scholar is Mya Stinson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mya Stinson, and I'm a rising junior at Cleveland State University, and I'll be studying criminology. So I'm excited to talk to you all about my experience as a Louis Stokes Scholar for the summer of 2021. So a little bit about me. As I just stated, I am a rising junior at Cleveland State University, and I'll be majoring in criminology. I just graduated high school in June 14th to be exact. I graduated as valedictorian, and the reason why I am technically a junior is because I took early college classes starting my sophomore year of high school, which led me to this point gladly. So it took a lot of hard work and dedication, but I did it, and I plan to I plan to attend law school, specifically Cleveland Marshall, after I complete my bachelor's. So a little bit about my summer. I spent it at the Justice Center or the Common Pleas Court. I was specifically on the 4th floor with Laura Creed, who is the director of the Resource Center. And I spent 8 weeks there in total. So there at the Justice Center with Laura Creed, I did assist her in helping litigants, which are just people involved in lawsuits. When they have a summons, they have to file what is known as an answer, which is just a response to the summons. So I printed out the paperwork, I highlighted, I did all the preparation in regards to that. And sometimes she'd get some crazy questions, which required a lot of preparation. So I'd help her with that as well. So like I said, our work days consisted of a lot of preparation for different litigants. And in addition to filing different answers, a lot of people wanted motions or sometimes just needed a little bit of guidance and navigation throughout the court system. So I had a wonderful time experiencing her help those people, and I gained a lot of influence and a lot of inspiration in regards to those legal matters. And we are known as a full service center. So once the paperwork was done, I got the opportunity to help different litigants kind of work their way around a building because it does have 23 floors. So it is very easy to get lost there, but I did a good job of helping them around. So in an average day, we would expect something different. So one day we would stay in the office all day, printing out those papers and getting those people together. But another day we would have the opportunity to go and sit in on a bunch of different trials or hearings, which is also a very good experience. I got to see judges hands-on and in action, the different sentencing, and I even got to sit in on some major cases as well, which I am very appreciative of. I got a lot of different contacts and I met so many different judges and prosecutors and defense attorneys. So that was a very good experience as well. So every day was different though. And here are a few friendly photos. There we met Judge Solomon Oliver. And in the bottom, I got the opportunity to meet Judge Nancy First. She was my favorite judge that I've met thus far. So it was very nice talking to her. She's very nice. So these are a few pictures of some of the field trips that we went to, which was kind of discussed a bit earlier, but I can say personally that I enjoyed them all. So on your very left, we have a picture of the law library. And in the middle, there's a lantern that I got to see at the Metro Park Zoo field trip. And the very last picture is kind of like the waiting area of the Carl B. Stokes Courthouse. That was very fancy and a lot fancier than the Justice Center. So, and I've gained a lot this summer. I can say that this summer has really solidified my decision to go into the law field. I used all the experiences and each day was something that gave me a little bit more and kind of lit the fire that drove me to want to go into the law field. Those hearings, those trials really helped me desire and kind of intensify my desire to want to be a prosecutor. And I honestly can say that I'm very thankful for this experience. I'm glad that I actually attended that session back in March with you, Mary, because without that session, I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm very thankful for the connections, the new faces, and everything that I've seen and learned and heard this summer. And I definitely will be taking this experience and using it for the rest of my life. So now, as most of you guys know the saying, once a Stokes Scholar, always a scholar, and I can definitely attest to that. I feel as though I will use these connections when I'm in law school, before it, and beyond it. And I definitely can say that this is a great program and it deserves to stay for a very long time.
Thank you, Mya. I appreciate that presentation. It's been great having you. It's been great watching you grow. Mya has really come out of her shell in the last 8 weeks. We've seen her really take advantage of everything that was put in front of her, which is all we can ask from our scholars. So it's been excellent to have you. And as talented as all our scholars are, I also wanted to point out that in these presentations, most of, if not all of these photos are taken by the scholars themselves. So not only are they all geniuses, they're also master photographers. So I just wanted to point that out. Continuing along, our next scholar we have is Giana Formica.
Thank you, Brandon. My name is Giana Formica, and I was at Legal Aid Society of Cleveland this summer. So I graduated from Cleveland School of the Arts High School this past May. I was student body president there, and I'll be attending Cleveland State University this fall with a major in urban studies. Throughout the summer, I've also been interning at NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio, and I'm also a youth ambassador at the LGBT Center of Greater Cleveland. So I find that working at Legal Aid and then my other nonprofit work at the other two organizations I've been with this summer kind of all intersects in a way. So yeah. So Legal Aid is a nonprofit organization that provides legal services to low-income people in Northeast Ohio. Legal Aid Society serves 5 counties in Northeast Ohio: Cuyahoga, Ashtabula, Geauga, Lake, and Lorain County. Legal Aid Society of Cleveland began in 1905 and was the 5th legal aid society in the United States. And then at Legal Aid, there's 8 different practice groups, which worked out perfectly for my 8 weeks within this program. So each week I spent with a different group. And so just these are all the groups, but some of my favorites were Health and Opportunity, and they focus on public benefits, education, and immigration. And it's really interesting to see how certain cases like all intersect within those 3 topics. And community engagement was also a really impactful week for me. And they do a lot of work to assist forming groups and legal assistance to starting organizations and community-based groups and things like that. And another thing I really liked was the Volunteer Lawyers Program, which is VLP. They have a group of a lot of lawyers who don't work for Legal Aid and just assist they offer their time and volunteer their services. So for folks who maybe don't fit into any of these practice groups or are able to be with a certain group, get placed with a VLP lawyer. And so that just is really impactful to see so many people in the community who are volunteering their time and energy to help people. So my favorite experiences throughout the summer. Oh, I want to add that because of COVID, Legal Aid had not had me in person at all. So I do not have any pictures for you of the offices or anything like that. So everything was over Zoom, and but I feel like I still got a lot out of my doing work this summer and was able to go to different meetings that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. So I went to an education task force meeting that was with a bunch of folks from all across Ohio, and they were talking about a lot of bills that are currently up in Congress at the State House and how that's affecting local communities and schools. And so that was just something that maybe I realized maybe I'll want to go into education law in the future, or as something of an interest of mine. And then again, back to community engagement, that week for me was just really impactful. The folks that work in that department, I know Mike's on the call today. I really enjoyed working with you folks that week, and it just gave more of an emphasis of like how important it is to reach out to the community and like interact with people in that kind of way. And then my other favorite experience was the annual meeting at the zoo. It was just really fun to get to sort of like have a little bit more of a relaxed time for like a relaxed event, and to get to meet my writing mentor, who is Michael Tucker, who I had only met him over the phone. So it was really nice to get to finally meet him in person. But yeah, and then for my next slide. Oh yeah. So I didn't know much about law. These are some of my biggest takeaways from the summer. So I didn't know much about law this summer. Like Mya, I was working with, I met Mary back in March. Mya and I were on that same meeting together, and I didn't really think I had any interest in being a lawyer or anything. It was just kind of something I had to sign up for school. And I met Mary, and she told me about this program and how you can turn a career in law into a career of advocacy, and how that kind of works. And so I thought I was really grateful to be placed at Legal Aid, because I really love their mission and what they believe in. And I think working in nonprofit is so valuable and important. And I think that goes with my work at NARAL as well. And I've learned how legal aid impacts communities firsthand in such a positive way. And to get to see how just how impactful it is for families to be able to get legal services in that way is really important. I'm not sure if I want to go to law school, and that's okay, but I've definitely had a really amazing experience this summer, and I'm going to continue using these connections. But yeah, I didn't know much about how law worked, and now I'm really glad I do. So yeah. Thank you all again for allowing me to speak and talk about my experiences this summer. I had a really amazing time working with Legal Aid.
Thank you so much, Giana. I really appreciate that presentation as well. Giana's also it's been great having you. You're very inquisitive, and we can tell where your passions lie. So it's been really good having you. So thank you. And now moving on to our next scholar, we have Bryson Wimbley.
Well, while we're waiting for Donnell to bring up the presentation, good evening. My name is Bryson Wimbley. I'm a Louis Stokes Scholar with the CMBA. I was placed in a court resource center as well with Mya at the Court Resource Center for Common Pleas courts. I'm currently in school for Associate of Arts. I plan to transfer over to Cleveland State and then hopefully go through law school. And then I would like to present to you my internship experience at the Court Resource Center this summer. Well, that's just the agenda. We can Okay, so I spent my 8 weeks at the Court Resource Center working with Director Lord Cree, which was amazing. So our basic thing was assisting litigants who does not have an attorney, basically the process and walk them through the process. Our main thing is we cannot give legal advice at all. So sometimes they call and want to ask certain questions, and I feel bad, but it was nothing that we could really do and provide them with legal advice, but we have tried to guide them in the direction that we best can, such as another close one we work with is legal aid. So my biggest thing I wanted to get out of my summer experience was definitely networking. Like that's my biggest thing of who I can meet, who I can network with, because after talking to all these attorneys, judges, magistrates, they say it ain't about what you got on your resume, it's about who you know and who you connected with. And you never know who you might have to land on or call back on to network or to even get a job in the future. So this was the meet and greet. These are some of the amazing people I met. Brendan J. Shin, one of the amazing judges he don't tell him what he was doing, but you come knock on his door, he'll let you come on in, take pictures, talk with him, any questions you had. Just like Mya, me and her just loved Nancy, Judge Nancy when we first met her. She was great, explained everything, which is great. Then Attorney Brown from Caffey, which is my uncle as well. So that's one of my biggest mentors, and I'm trying to follow in his path and hopefully go through law school, which is, I know law school is a challenge, but that's my plan to go to Cleveland Marshall Law as well. What I learned and what I would like to take away. So before entering the program, there was some stuff I was, afraid to ask certain questions, or I'm asking, was it a dumb question? Do it really make sense? But most everybody was like, no question, dumb question, ask the question. Don't bite off more than you can chew, because I'm one of those people, I was thinking about doing law school part-time and working, and after going to Case Western, the View, talking with the admissions, they was like, it's kind of a little hard to do, to be working and be successful in law school. It's okay to make mistakes in life. We all mess up at some point in time, and when I mess up, I just shut down and get nervous and scared, but it's okay. You make mistakes in life, no one is perfect. I'm always say keep an open mind, try something new. Laura definitely wanted us to try everything in the court possible. It was some stuff I was like, no, we ain't got to do it. But then she's like, just try, you never know. So like touring the probation lab and all that. I was never interested in probation, but it is great to know how those things work. Definitely networking was one of my biggest things, just coming in, networking, meeting some different judges, seeing some different faces, meeting with some people that I never been a part of. And definitely more information on the LSAT. I always knew about the LSAT, but I didn't know it costs $200 every time you take it, and just the process of taking it. So that kind of like scared me, because I'm like, I want to get it right the first time. I don't want to keep on spending $200 just to take the LSAT test. Definitely some things what I would like to take away from this summer experience is focused on building new connections. So staying connected, just calling and check and say, hi, how are you? Is there anything I can do? And a great sense of professionalism, more confident in my career, which I have an interest in policing, law enforcement, and also politics. So I do want to be an attorney and a judge as well one day. And then definitely like creating projects and presentations, and just definitely public speaking, because it's funny that judges and attorneys, they are still regular people at the end of the day, but they was more interested about who we was and what we did and who we were. And we had to present ourselves, and the elevator speech definitely came in hand when it came with that, because you're introducing yourself. And then of course the LSAT prep classes, which I learned from through Case, so I'm definitely interested in getting on a roll with those coming up. And then start my savings. Definitely, that's something important that I don't know, but that's something I struggle with, definitely saving. But if I'm really considering going to law school, I definitely want to start saving money, because I don't want to have to be so much in debt when I come out of law school. And then always keep an open mind, because you don't know what you want to do in life unless you try different things. So I definitely want to just keep an open mind going forward. Some of the activities that I really like was the annual meeting at the CMBA. Something I would really say that I enjoyed about that night was, got to interact with other interns. It wasn't so much focused on, oh, let's dress up and let's be in an office type setting. It was, get to hang out, get to eat, to have fun, talk a little bit, and just hang out. But definitely, I've been living in Cleveland my whole life, but never been to the Asian Lantern Fest. So that was something great that me and my mother got to participate in that evening. And then in Cobb County, when we did the Common Pleas tour, we met with City of Cleveland prosecutor, Maquela Jordan. Then we met with Russell Type Trial Counsel for the Public Defender's Office. And then definitely getting a tour at Case Western Reserve Law School. And it's just speaking with the admissions, walking us through the process. And that's why Danielle mentioned, like, yeah, they got kind of scared because it costs $85,000 a year, and that's not something I have saved up in the bank. So definitely looking at scholarship options and just different options that's out there for students who are interested in law school. And then it's just some old pictures. So the first picture to the nearest left would be at Case Western that we all took. The middle picture with Russell Ty along with Quayla Jordan. Then the last picture to the right is me and my mother enjoying ourselves at the CMBA annual meeting at the zoo. And then questions, comments, and thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for this summer experience. I definitely learned a lot, and I want to thank my Uncle Brandon most, for keeping me on the right path and definitely showing me around and, keeping me on track and doing the right thing. And hopefully go through law school one day.
Thank you, Bryson. I appreciate it. It's been great having you this summer, not just because you're my nephew, although that definitely adds to it as well. But one of the experiences I remember from the zoo is when I saw Laura and she saw me and she was gushing about both the interns that were there, both Mya and Bryson. And she talked about you, Bryson, and she really said, he's always there. He's always about his business. He outdresses me every time he goes. He's like a sponge soaking up everything, extremely helpful. And he took everything seriously. And I think I said this before, but it's so important to us that our scholars take the opportunities in front of them seriously. And I think that that's been the case for all of our scholars. And so thank you, Bryson. I really appreciate you being here and putting your best foot forward.
Thank you.
So moving on, we have Maryssa Blackman.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maryssa Blackman. I am a rising junior at Cleveland State University, and I am participating in their 3+3 program, meaning I will be going to Cleveland Marshall Law, within the next coming years. So super exciting. This summer, I was placed at Tucker Ellis LLP. It's been a firm that I've been pretty familiar with since I was at mock trial with John Hay. And to actually work there this summer was awesome, like to really get into the game. So my mentors this summer were Serena Holden and Carter Strang. They're both business litigators. So that was definitely something to see. Like, I'm so used to seeing criminal law, so that was definitely different, seeing what happens behind the scenes with representing businesses and defending them. I got to see all spectrums of the legal career this summer. So I got to see people that were just starting out, junior associates and summer associates. Then I got to see people like my mentor who were seasoned, getting in their career and killing it really. And then I got to see people like Carter who are at the sunset of their career and really figuring out what's next, doing foundation work. And I got to sit in on some of that too. I learned a significant amount about what's next for me. So as far as taking the LSAT, definitely paying for law school and keeping my head in the game. So like legal scholarships, externships, everything like that. I really took advantage of talking to summer associates this summer. And I also learned about networking in the workplace setting. That was very important. So Tucker Ellis is a private firm that was started in 2003 as a successor of the former Arter and Haddon after they went bankrupt. 90 lawyers started that firm and it's been successful ever since. Tucker Ellis is really a business litigation firm that deals with transactions, business litigation, and intellectual property. Fields and special topics I explored. Really, I thought that I didn't really get to see all the boring parts of being a lawyer, which would be the depositions, the interviews with witnesses, and more of the writing part of it, and the arbitrations and the, my bad. And I didn't really get to see all that, and also the appellate process. I really didn't get to see all that. You don't see all that on TV. Of course, it's fed to us like Law and Order, the drama, the theater of it. You don't really see that, but through this internship, I really learned that being a lawyer is late nights, dedication, and real problem solving. Because a lot of those lawyers, you think it's a 9-to-5 job. It's not. Like the guy I was across the hall from, he was in his office till like 3 a.m. I'm like, dude, like, please go home at this point. So then we have my mentor, Serena Holden, who does work with asbestos claims primarily. So I learned a lot about asbestos this summer. I can just say that. I learned a lot about asbestos and how those claims go about, how they work, and definitely how you work with the plaintiff in that situation and how settlements happen. So I work with lawyers who also focused on big pharma, opioid litigation, and also one lawyer who another thing I learned this summer, I thought once you're a lawyer, you work on everything. Yeah, I realized like when I said that, all the other lawyers were like, yeah, that's for a crazy person. Like no one really does that. You specialize in one thing and you go with it. So I definitely saw only one person who does that. But I was also exposed to transactional work with that works with mergers, business deals, and along with risks and gains, which is a lawyer that really doesn't go to trial. So I definitely learned that difference also. Litigators go to trial, transactional lawyers do not go to trial. But I learned a lot about being a paralegal also, and that paralegals do not have to go to law school, and there's paralegal programs for that also. Paralegals can do everything that a lawyer does except try cases and give legal advice. So as I said before, I learned about the spectrums of the legal career. I learned more about what a summer associate does and what a junior associate does from the summer associates at Tucker, the 2L and 3L law students. And I really got my seasoned mentors, not including but limited to Serena Holden as my primary mentor. And then I had Luigi La Rochelle, and I had Sanford Watson also. And also Sanford is included with this, lawyers at the sunset of their career as far as Carter and Sanford also, considering that they're going 2 different directions with their career, even though they have been lawyers for a very long time. So it's good seeing that also. And networking in a workplace setting and what's next. During the time I was at Tucker, I learned a lot about networking, and especially like because I was shy at first, I really didn't know how to approach people and ask them questions. But then it came to me like, I'm here to ask questions, I'm here to learn, I'm here for hands-on experience. So of course I have to open my mouth and get what I need. So I had to put myself out there. I really learned how to market myself this summer. And if you don't say anything, you're not going to get anything. So I really had to learn that. And I got to go on a lot of lunches with a lot of different people, including the managing partner of Tucker Ellis, which was very fun. And I definitely got exposed to different things and different areas of law. And we even got to go out and go to an Indians game. I wish I would have included the picture of that. We went to get out and go to an Indians game. We had home plate seats. For my first Indians game, that was awesome. So yeah, I definitely got to make a lot of long-lasting relationships this summer. And even with the Cleveland Metro Bar, I want to thank them personally for helping me get the leadership skills I needed, and also being able to get up next in my law firm career. So tips for future Stokes scholars, because I know that was on the assignment sheet. I wish that they would market themselves the same way I did. Be confident. Confidence is the best thing you can wear, and you can see it everywhere you go. The first step is believing, and then you can achieve. Act. So your actions speak louder than words. So be there, be present, and be alive in your presence. And listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So the best thing you can do is listen sometimes.
Thank you, Maryssa. I appreciate it. Becky just hit the nail on the head with that comment. I was going to say the same thing. Your passion for both the law and the program is very clear, and it shines through. And whenever I'm around Maryssa, I have the opportunity and the privilege of not only overseeing the program this summer, but also working with her in the mock trial program at John Hay. So I've gotten a chance to see her grow tremendously and watch that passion kind of flourish. So it's been great to have you as well. And for all of the scholars, I think that it's great that all of you have displayed, like I said, just really great amounts of focus. So that being said, last but certainly not least, we have Jaehyuk Yu.
Oh, so hi, my name is Jaehyuk Yu, but most people call me Jay. This summer, I was fortunate to be a Louis Stokes Scholar. So just a little bit about me. I graduated from Brecksville Broadview Heights High School this past May, and I'll be a freshman at Vanderbilt University this fall. I mostly got involved through the Louis Stokes Scholars Program last summer when I applied for the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Legal Academy. But unfortunately, the pandemic hit and that was canceled. But Mary was nice enough to let me participate in a virtual version of the Louis Stokes Scholars Program. And then when this summer came around, I was allowed to actually apply for the real version. So one of the things that I really wanted out of this experience was to learn about the court system and get hands-on experience with cases and sit in on trials. So I was assigned to the perfect place for that, which was the 8th District Court of Appeals. And the first thing I noticed right off the bat when I got there was that the building is beautiful on the outside and even more on the inside. And so, I was really filled with a sense of awe every time I went there. So just about the court, it was finished in 1912, and it's one of the 12 district appellate courts in Ohio. It has 12 judges that sit on 3 judge panels, and the trial process is oral arguments with each side getting 15 minutes, but the appellant being allowed to allocate some of those 15 minutes for rebuttal. And so that's a picture I took of the court when you first walk in. And again, it just looks amazing. So when I first got there, they took me on a tour, and one of the things they told me was that the 8th District Court of Appeals was a film set for the first Avengers movie. So the photo on the right is a screenshot from the movie with Loki, and then on the right is a picture that I took, and you can see that the stained windows are the same. So that was just something that I thought was really cool and interesting. So my personal experience, the photo right there is where I worked. I was lucky enough to be able to use an office because one of Judge Grove's staff attorneys worked remotely. So I was just able to borrow her office during my time there. So the main thing that I did was read briefs and the case law associated with them. And through that, I was able to learn a lot of legal vocabulary, which I wrote down so that I could use later. And once I read the briefs and tried to understand the views of the arguments and what they were just trying to say in general, I was supposed to write summaries and what I thought the court should rule on the cases. And that was really where the mentorship from the judges and the staff attorneys really came in, because they were able to read that, and then they were able to give me feedback on my writing, and then we were able to just discuss in depth just about the core of the case and sort of the legal arguments surrounding them. And once I wrote the summaries and read the briefs and everything, I was able to actually listen into the trials and argue arguments, which was really cool because I actually had an understanding of what was going on. So that I thought that was really educational. Another really cool thing I got to do was go on field trips with Judge Michelle Sheehan. She had her own interns, and she was nice enough to let me tag along with them on the trips they took. So we were able to go to the Court of Common Pleas a couple of times, and domestic relations and probate court. And we were able to go to the juvenile court yesterday. So through that experience, I was able to meet a lot of judges, magistrates, lawyers, and just great people that really want to talk a lot about their experience and give their own mentorship to us. Okay, so I met a lot of people there. It really seemed like I was meeting someone new every day, but I guess just some of the highlights. Newton and Samantha were the first people that I met, and their judicial staff attorneys were Judge Gross and Judge Forrest, respectively. And they were really the main people that were giving me interesting work to do. So through them, I was able to, get experience on everything ranging from forfeiture to public records release to child support even. So that was really nice of them, and they really were a great help in explaining anything I needed to know. I also got to meet Laura Williams, who was an administrative assistant for Judge Groves. And in the photo there, that's Newton and Laura. And I got to meet the Judge Forrest, Judge Groves, and Judge Sheehan. As before, Judge Sheehan let me go on her field trips with me. And Judge Forrest and Judge Groves, I was able to learn a lot from whenever I talked to them, and sort of got to see how they acted during trials and also just what they thought about their specific cases. So advice for future scholars, this is mostly courtesy to Newton because, throughout the whole experience, he really gave me a lot of wisdom. So he told me to be flexible, especially with trials. They can change at any moment. Their times can be changed on a dime. So it's good to be flexible with your schedule and just how you live life. He also really told me to find balance, especially balance between work and life, just to keep yourself healthy and to pace yourself, to not be afraid to take work slowly and thoroughly. And lastly, I would say, be at ease and don't be afraid to ask questions. What I found out through this experience is that the Cleveland legal community is really welcoming and they're really invested in seeing you grow. So just relax and ask questions if you need it. And I guess the one thing that I forgot to add on there is to any future scholars is if you do have a chance to intern at the Court of Appeals, take it. It's an amazing place with great people. And yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Jay. I think that your attention to detail is definitely on full display during that presentation. And, you know, you have a very thoughtful demeanor. And again, I know I probably sound like a broken record, but it always just warms my heart to see how much our scholars are really taking advantage of the opportunity put in front of them, both through the actual work experience that they're getting, but also the mentorship and them really latching on to their mentors. As a former and current Stokes Scholar, I can say that mentorship has always been one of the greatest portions of the program and something that has helped me tremendously from the time when I was a scholar on through law school. I still reach out to mentors now when I make career decisions. So to see you all making those same kind of connections, I'm just so pleased. And I'm also so proud of all of you for all of your presentations. They were all excellent. And I think that they're a great testament to the caliber of scholar that we have here, the caliber of program that we have, and that we will continue to build. As Carter mentioned, the program is already an award-winning program and one that other cities and areas have tried to emulate and are trying to emulate and figure out how they can get their own pipeline diversity initiatives the way that we have. And that's in no small part because of the scholars. That being said, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So before I close, there are two people I want to thank, especially. The first is Donnell. Donnell, you came in this summer and you really hit the ground running. And I know it's not always easy stepping into a new role with new faces, but you jumped in head first and you really gave it your all. And I wanted to say personally and from the CMBA, thank you. I look forward to continue to working with you, continuing to see you grow as well. And so I just really wanted to say thank you, man. I appreciate all your work. And last but absolutely not least, the biggest thank you goes to the most important person involved in this program, and that's Mary Growth. This program does not succeed without Mary. This program does not succeed at all. And I know that I'm the chair, but anyone who has any substantial involvement in the program knows that Mary runs this program. This is her child, and Mary, I love you so much, and I love how much you've helped me grow. You've been here throughout my entire journey, throughout the entire journey of the Stokes Scholars program. And so I just literally cannot say thank you enough. And it would be a disservice for me to end this program any other way than by having everybody say, thank you and clap it up for both Mary and our scholar. And so with that being said, I will conclude the program. I thank everyone for coming out. I appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a great day and a great summer. Scholars, always feel free to reach out to me or anyone else. We'll be in contact for sure going forward. You guys are now Stokes Scholars alum. For those who are still eligible next summer, we look forward to you guys coming back again, apply again. So from there, everyone have a great day.